Hey, welcome to Spirituality at Ground Level. My name is Jeff Harrison. I'm so glad that you're here today. Yeah, we're not outside today. The weather's a little inclement, and last week we had a little bit of an issue with connection. So I have to be very careful about where I set that up. Hey, before we get started, first of all, I want to welcome everybody as you're coming aboard. This is called Spirituality at Ground Level, and it's really kind of a show designed to say, hey, from someone who is actually sitting in the audience and receiving this knowledge, going to classes, they're not a theologian. They're not someone who is a minister. We're just applying it to our everyday life, whether it's personally, professionally, relationships, whatever it may be, to our health. And I just want to have an opportunity. I appreciate you allowing me to be the guide to say, hey, this is how I apply this in my life. And I think you can do the same thing, because sometimes all we need are two things. One is proof, and the second is a nudge, because information without application doesn't work. Information with application equals transformation. So my goal is to help you get transformed during this show. Now, before we get started on today's topic, I want to talk a little bit about what we talked about last week, because we had a little bit of a tech issue. And I have to be honest with you, nothing less than a tech issue today. I've gone from having, green screen background to cameras, the whole thing, to I'm on my iPhone. So just to show you that, hey, things happen. So what do? You do your very best. Good morning, Dale, Reverend Dale Olansky. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Please share any questions. But last week, I discussed the power of the question. And what I really kind of dialed into is endless loop questions, asking questions of, why does that always happen to me? Why do I get to the end of the month and I don't have any money? Why, all these questions of why. And all we're doing is we're creating a situation where there really is not an answer that solves the problem. So an endless loop question is something that we say, if we change that and say, go from an endless loop question to a question that gets us to that next level, is we might change it to something that says, how can I? How can I? Because if you were with somebody and you said, hey, why do you do that? Why do you always do that? Every time I say X, you do this. Why do you always do that? Immediately, what happens to that person? Well, first of all, either they get a little defensive, they withdraw, or they become combative. That's just the way it is. It's like, hey, this is why I did it. And so imagine that person be in our own minds. The same thing could happen. So again, if you haven't seen that, I know we had a little tech issue, some challenge with sound, but for the most part, it was pretty clear. Go back and check that out. That was last week. We were talking about the power of the question. Today, the whole show today is really, we think about it, it says there's no such thing as a coincidence. The universe lines things up for us. Well, last week after the show, I think I said, okay, what are we going to talk about this week? And I wanted to talk about a particular topic. And then this whole week, I've been in a class every day from 9 to 10, and then a fall from 10 to 11. So I'm missing my 10 to 11 part. But this is important for him to be here because it's recorded. I can go back. Is focus. Focus. And I want to, as an example, what does that mean, like focus? Well, imagine a person gets up every day, and if they're not sure what they're going to do, what do? They kind of stumble around the house, they have a cup of coffee, they catch a little bit of, the morning news. They stare out the window for a little bit. Maybe they go in and brush their teeth. Maybe around 10 o'clock, they think, well, maybe I should get dressed. So they change their clothes, but they really are just kind of what I'll call wandering generalities. Wandering generalities. They're really not getting up with a purpose. And I want to challenge you. I brought a couple of props today. So I'm going to ask you to do this. And if anybody gets this right, I want you to put it in the chat. And Krista, let me know who gets this. So here's the first thing. Does anybody know what this is? This is something that I remember back when I was in high school. I was going to say not too many years ago, but it's about truth and honesty. Quite a while ago in physics, I was introduced to this particular device. And I, as a kid, sometimes like, hey, when you see something, I got to have one of those. Well, I ended up buying one, and I was doing a little research last night getting ready for today's show. I was blown away at how expensive these things have become. I wouldn't have spent that much money as a kid, but relative, maybe I did. So tell me if you put it in the chat, and I'll make it a deal. First person who gets it right, $20. Yes, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to bribe you to get involved. So who knows what this is? You have to give me the right name. Okay. Who knows what this is? All right. And it's going to play a big role in what we're going to talk about today when we talk about focus. The other one, and I can just hear my dear friend Amy starting to laugh when I hold this next one up. What is this? No, there's no money for this. This is pretty obvious. What is this? Just let me know. Put it in the chat. I dare you to put it in the chat. Both of these help to illustrate and really confirm how important it is to be focused. Now, I know somebody, I'm going to use Dale Olansky if she doesn't mind. I know Dale is a very detailed and a very driven person. I know that because she's always busy. Magnifier for a book. Laurel, you're on the right track, but I want it by name. What is that? I want it by name. Okay, so she's given us a clue. It's a magnifier for a book, but it's called a certain name. So I know Dale, she is one of those people that, it's like, hey, can we get together? Well, tell me what time, because she opens up her book and says, I've got a time for this. She schedules her day. That is a way for her to remain focused on what she wants. But today I want to take it even deeper than that. Because here's the thing. I think all of us, and this is not to put pressure on anyone, I think all of us were put here on this planet to expose this gift we were given to make an impact on our world. Now, when I say that, the world, it's like, wow, Jeff, there's 7.5 billion people out here. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you won't be a Steve Jobs. Maybe you won't be an Elon Musk, but you'll make a difference in your community. And I want to share a story. There was a young man, he's from India, and he lived in a small town in northern India, and they had 4 or 5 lakes in their town. And this lake was used for getting their water. It was used for agriculture. But unfortunately, over time, it had gotten very polluted to the point that people couldn't even go in the water because it was so polluted. And he said, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to start doing something different. So he went down and he started cleaning the lake. Long story short, he started a movement, and people came down and helped him clean that lake. Now those 8 lakes are pure and crystal clear again. And when he started doing this, other regions in India said, hey, this guy, and I don't remember his name, I apologize. Let's call him Bob. Bob is doing such a great job. Let's find out what Bob is doing. They went and said, hey, what are you doing? And they found out all this stuff, and they did things like this. There are times where, things blow into the ocean or they blow into the water. Well, they actually built a container, a retaining area, so that those types of things would go down into this pit, if you will. And then that pit is cleaned once or twice a month. So it never gets into the water. So they set up a way so that the trash and residue that would normally go in the water and pollute it never got to the water. Now, he started at a very local level, a very micro level. Moving it forward, oh, who said that? Fresnel Lens. That's right. Fresnel Lens. That's what this is. Who said that? We want to give them $20. We'll send it to you. Just type your email in the chat and we'll send it to you. Me. I don't know who me is. It could be. I have a feeling it's Amy because she's a very smart girl and she's seen me use this before. But anyway, so he started at a very small level. Turns out he has now been contacted by India, the region for all the lakes in India, and he's in charge of making sure they're cleaning their lakes properly. He started out with one idea, one movement. But here's my thought here. When he got up every day, he woke up with a purpose. He woke up with enthusiasm. He woke up with drive. He went to bed knowing he made a little difference that day. I challenge you, What are you doing? What thing do you have going on in your life that says, hey, this is what gets me up every day. This is what gets me going. This is what gives me the energy that I need to accomplish what I want to do. And when I go to bed at night, I have this little good feeling in my heart and I have a smile on my face going, I know today I made a difference. Just let that sink in for a minute. You just went to bed today knowing you made a difference. You were not a wandering generality. Because here's what happens. If you take two cars and they both have GPS in them, and one is giving a very specific target, a very specific address, and the other is not, which one will get to its destination quicker? The one that's been given a very specific destination. Now, I want to pull this up for a second. I want to give you an example. When you take this lens, the Fresnel lens, and you take it on the brightest, sunniest day, until you do what? You'll never start a fire. What is that answer? Until you focus, you will never start a fire. So if you look in the mirror and you're saying, wow, do I have a fire inside me? Do I have something that drives me? Do I have something that excites me? If the answer is no, ask yourself, what could that be? Stay away from the endless loop question of, why do I get up every day? I don't even know what to do. Well, you know what? You'll get answers for that, because you'll get those endless loop answers that really don't get you closer, and said, how can I wake up every morning with a purpose and know when I go to bed that I feel like I've made a difference? See, that's a whole different question, which will give you a whole different set of answers. And then it's up to you to say, hey, let me take those answers coming through, those rays of sunshine that are coming through, and focus them in and say, hey, when I focus it in, it makes a difference in my world. It's, and this was many years ago. I was working with a bunch of kids, and they're wonderful kids. And I was challenged I was speaking to these groups 5 or 6 days a week, I think it was what it was. And I did this for 5 years. So I was speaking about 250 times a year. And one day I walked in, I said, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about today. And I saw this laying over there, and I said, okay, I'm just going to pick this up, and this is my talk today. And what this ended up doing was delivering a talk that helped me, because as we teach, what do? We learn. As we learn, we grow. So I'm going to share this gift with you. This is nothing more than a paper towel roll. And it just happened to be available that day, and it turned into something very, very clear for me and for the people that are watching. So what happens is, when you look through this, and I'm going to see if this happens. If you look through this, when I put this up there, what happens to your field of vision? Does it get smaller or does it grow? Please put it in the chat. Does it grow or does it get smaller when I put this up against the lens of the camera? Come on, you know, here's the thing. If you don't participate, you don't get the same benefit. I promise you, you don't get the same benefit. So here, we do it again. In the chat, when I put this up against the lens, what happens to your field of vision? Does it expand or does it shrink? If you put in shrink, then you know what I'm talking about. When you look through this, all of a sudden your vision is very focused. You know exactly where you're going. You've literally put the GPS data into your mind, and that's what your eyes see. Now, what's the benefit of that? Well, the benefit of that is, all of a sudden, when somebody comes to the outside and they're saying, boy, shrink. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. And Kelly, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Yes, it shrinks, Dale. It definitely does. But here's the cool thing. When you have a very definite aim in life, hey, like, I'm going to do this, and this is why I'm going to do it. These are the people I'm serving. This is the transformation I'm going to help deliver. What happens is, when all that extra noise from the outside world, imagine this is all the outside world hitting you, what happens? It's like a fly that just comes and you just swish it away. You spend no time on it. Why? Because it's not getting you any closer to this goal down here at the end. It's not getting you any closer to this goal at the end. It's only a minor distraction. So when someone cuts you off in traffic, or you're in a hurry someplace, but you seem to catch all the red lights, it doesn't matter because you're focused. So today, I want you to think about this. Hey, am I focused on a goal every day? Are my actions getting me closer or further away from my goal? And here's the thing. If it's getting you further away from your goal, you're probably not as focused as you'd like to be. You may still have a Fresnel lens, but you just haven't zeroed in on the power of focus. Now, let me give you an example of this. I watched this last night. You can look it up on the internet, Fresnel lens and its effect. If you took a lens like this, it has the power from the sun on just a normal day. When you focus the lens, literally in seconds, you can melt a penny. Literally in seconds, it will melt pottery, like not clay, but iron. It will melt that. Why? Because it is focused. And what does that mean here? When you focus, there's no wall that will stop you. There's no one person that will stop you. There's no one phone call that will stop you. You will just move right through it. Challenges will be nothing to you. It'll be like eating toast for breakfast. And it's not like you're going to be like this crazy madman. You may not have the enthusiasm I have. I love talking about this stuff because I know how powerful it is. But you can do it in a quiet manner. And so I challenge you today, and I'm about ready to wrap it up unless there's some questions, of focus. Find your purpose. Find your purpose. And find out if that is getting you closer or further from your goal. And here's the thing. Money is very, very important in our world. Let's face it. Without money, there are a lot of restrictions in our life. But here's the thing. When you chase something, what does it do? It runs away, doesn't it? So I'm going to challenge you to do something that I did, that I heard again this week, and it reminded me. Instead of being a person who chases money, why don't we be a person of value? Why don't we be a person of value? What can I give to my community? What can I give to the people I serve? Whether it's a real estate company, it's an insurance company, it's a center for spiritual living, it's me as a marketing company, whatever it is. How can I be a person of value serving? Because then what happens is that those rewards you're looking for, financial rewards you're looking for, will find you easily and effortlessly because you're working on becoming a person of value. Now, I started off this by saying, hey, something happened last week when I said I want to talk about focus. And then this whole week, I was in something that absolutely helped me get more focused. It wasn't by intent. I heard it on Sunday, and I thought, I'm gonna get involved in that. So I dialed in and I got involved in that. And this whole week has helped me become much more focused to the point of this. When I have my marketing company, we do a lot of things. We do video, we do podcasts, all the stuff you can imagine. We don't do a lot of print advertising just because we don't see that there's any value, real value. It's probably not the best and the highest return for our clients. But what we're doing is we're doing a lot of things. And if we think about that, we're being a generalist in many areas. Yes, and most, some people I have on staff, they're experts at those areas, but in essence, we're generalizing. And this message that I was involved in this week helped me remember I need to specialize. I need to focus. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit more enthusiastic, a little bit more excited about this today, because when you do this, I promise you, the sun will be brighter. Your road will be less cluttered. Your energy level will go up. Your attitude will get better. Your smile, sometimes you'll be smiling all day and you don't even know why, and your face is hurting. It's because you're doing what you love. You're making a difference because you're focused. So, Kristen, with that, if there's any questions, I'd love to take them. And I'd love to get your feedback. If you feel like I'm off target, or you have questions about, hey, how do you get focused? I can help you with that. That's what I do. And I'd love to talk to you about that. But if not, we're going to wrap this up. Again, my goal is to get in, get out, not just belabor a point, because I want to be very clear and say, hey, just like in this focus, get in, get out, give you some good, go to work. And then when we meet next week, let me know how it goes. So here's your homework. I want you to sit down and say, hey, if money weren't an issue, what would I love doing every day? Write it down. Then the next one is, what new actions would I have to take to get close to that goal? What new actions would I have to take to get close to that goal? Who would I have to be to achieve that goal? I'm going to stop there for just a second. Who do I have to be? In other words, if, as an example, your goal is to be an example to your spouse or to your kids that you're healthy, and you want to leave them with that legacy. You want to really impart that on them because you want to be that example. Are you getting up early, or are you getting up and you're exercising? Are you spending time journaling? Are you doing some meditation? Are you have a morning routine? Are you eating properly? Are you making good choices with your foods? Are you getting good rest? See, this is who you have to be to reach that target. Because don't tell me how great you are. I would rather see it. Because we all know, faith is seeing without believing. But so many of us need belief by seeing. We have to see it first. So who do you have to be? And then just put down, hey, what characteristics does that person have to have? And then start trying it on. It's like going into Macy's or going into a clothing store and say, hey, I pull some things off the rack. I went in the back. I tried them on. I looked in the mirror. They look great on me. They don't look great on me. Put them back, because you can change that quickly. Hey, my name is Jeff Harrison. Thank you so much for being here. Do me a favor. Before you go, I want you to think about something. I talked about it last week. If you had a citrus tree in your yard and it was designed to bear fruit, would you feed that tree? Of course you would. What would you give it? You get water, fertilizer. You would also take down fruit. And what if you have an abundance of fruit? What would you do? Would you invite your neighbors over to have some of them? Would you bake cakes and pies and with those little lemon bars and share those? Absolutely you would. And as you give, what happens? More fruit is growing. So on the screen right now, there is a link there to help support your spiritual fruit tree, if you will. That's Center for Spiritual Living here in Palm Desert. If just one thing I said today made a difference, and you said, geez, it was worth my 23 minutes to be on here and listen to Jeff with his green screen that didn't quite come together today, it was worth it. When you put it out, it will come back. I promise you. It's done it many times in my life. I put it out when I really didn't have it. Like this program that I'm on this week, it was very expensive. But you know what? I put it out. Already it's starting to come back to me. Because again, what I said, when we focus, what happens is it lightens our load. It takes the weight off, because I don't have to be an expert at everything. I can be an expert at one thing and just be so good that when I serve you, it's at the highest level. So please consider clicking that link, being part of our family here at CSL Palm Desert. Until next time, my name is Jeff Harrison. Kristen, unless there's any questions, please take us out.